All right, Paul's missionary journey. All right, people in the back, and we'll give everybody time to get on in here. All right, so this is not really 2.5 hours of me just talking. I joke a lot. I'm not joking about the 2.5 hours. So we're gonna try to get it. Last year when we did this same study, I hated it. I'm going to be honest with you. If I could be absolutely honest with you, this was my least favorite part. Hey, Faith Blevins is calling me right now. I decline that way. This was my least favorite part about boot camp last year, Acts study. And what's crazy is my favorite person, one of my favorite people in the world, they were leading it. It just wasn't, it didn't seem applicable to me at the time. I hope I said that right. So I am going to try to work on this. I'm gonna try. I tried my best. So, all right. How you guys doing though after lunch? How you guys feeling? You okay? All right. Uh-oh. All right, Christian. It's your time to shine. All right. You gotta motivate the crowd. All right. So if everybody can. So look, Monday, I would say Monday you guys were about a 5. You know, I kind of like that. Out of 10, you was at 5. On Monday, you guys were 5 out of 10. On Tuesday, you guys were about a 2 or 3, if I could be honest with you. All right. Today, I feel it. I feel the energy already. I feel like this is going to be like our most energized day. So if everybody will just stand up. Ready. And I want this one. We gotta be motivated for this next part because we're only gonna get through it together. All right, Christian.
All right, guys.
Are you motivated?
Motivated, downright dedicated.
You check us out.
Black guy energy, but
I think that was about a 6.
all right.
About a 6. It's about a 6. That was about a 6. All right. So I am doing Paul's missionary journey and the Acts study. So Burke is under the weather, so we just smooshed both of them together, and we're going to do it the same. So praise the Lord anyway. As we look at this, one thing that helped me last year while I was sitting in this very same spot as you, looking at Mateo, who is one of the most gifted evangelists I've ever met. He gets this stuff. It's almost like he was there writing this stuff down, like with them. It's unbelievable. Like he is just, in my mind, a living legend when it comes to this stuff. I am convinced you could have had the best speakers in the world up here talking about it, and it just didn't matter to me at all. That's because I didn't really care. I didn't know how it applied to my life. And I said that. So this applies to you if you want to plant a church one day. Raise your hand if that's you. If you're part of a church plant or you want to plant a church one day, the Acts study applies to you. Okay, sweet. This also applies to you if you want to, let's say you want to start a small group. Anybody want to start a small group? Okay, we got a couple hands go up. All right, sweet. Did all hands go up? Anybody didn't raise their hand at all? That's all right. We got you. My man, Austin. All right, sweet. 1 or 2 hands. Now, Paul did a really good job at doing what he did. You can't be bored when you talk about he reached 15 million people in a short amount of time. That can't be bored. Like, that's legendary status. Absolutely. That is some unreal stuff. And when we think about that, some of the same lessons, some of the same things he did, they're practical. They're things we can apply right here to the day. It was Jeff Sundell. I don't know if many of you guys know who he is. He's really good at this stuff. He knows it really well. He teaches it all the time. Does a lot of trainings. I was talking to him this year, and I had reached a point to where I wanted to get better at my job. So I thought I'd introduce myself. My name is Todd. You guys know that, right? All right. And I'm on staff with the church in Grace, at Raleigh and Grace. And, yeah, it's nice. It's nice now. Jobs, my bosses aren't that bad. But one of the cool things is that I was like, I want to get better at my job. I want to plant churches. I want to get better at what I do. And Jeff was like, hey, you just need to go through Acts. It's like, so am I going to go through it like, soap method? He's like, no, literally just break it down like the 4 fields and go through Acts. So I spent a whole month away from the soap method. It was a little bit longer than that. And every day I'd read Acts and I literally go through entry, gospel, discipleship, gathering/church, what type of leadership was going on there. And it changed the way I thought about this whole movement. It changed my mindset. I was so ready. I was thinking so linear about things, and I'm a linear thinking guy, and that's not a really good thing. I wasn't thinking like, hey, this is what these people did. It applies to what we're doing now. The same lessons that we're doing now, these people did that. Maybe not the church circle, but they didn't have like maybe a 3 circles or a 15-second testimony thing they did, and they probably wish they did. They probably wish they had something as reproducing as that, but they had a process that they went after, and I think that's pretty cool. Also, I think it's pretty cool is how God used Paul. Paul was Saul, the persecutor. If you guys will turn to Acts 8 with me. And if we just start in the first 3 or 4 verses, it tells all we need to know about this guy Saul. It says, and Saul approved of his execution. First of all, he just approved of somebody dying. All right. And there arose on that day a great persecution against the church in Jerusalem. And they were all scattered throughout the regions of Judea, Samaria, except the apostles, devout men, buried Stephen and made great lamentation over him. But Saul was ravaging the church and entering house after house. He dragged off men and women and committed them to prison. We always talk about if you don't do Acts 1:8, you get Acts 8:1. The guy who was in charge, who was like really pushing the Acts 8:1 was this guy named Saul. And I think one of the coolest things is that he was a persecutor turned church planter. I have done, to be honest, I'm not going to go in detail, but I've done some pretty messed up things in my life. We all have a bit of a past, but God turned this persecutor, this guy who was leading the charge against killing Christians, he turned him into a church planter, somebody who saw movement happen. Isn't that a blessing to think that none of us are too far off? None of us are like super nasty and disgusting that God can't use us. If any of you guys killed a Christian, don't raise your hand. Please don't. If you have, just come talk to us afterwards. We'll work our way through that.
Don't go to the cops.
Yeah, don't go to the cops. So we see Paul as this cool example, and I'll take it back to sports for a second. I said the thing yesterday, and I believe it wholeheartedly. But Kobe always talks about his inspiration when it comes to basketball was this guy named Michael Jordan. You think about if I can go into the business side of things, Tim Cook. Who was his inspiration? It was probably, Steve Jobs, the guy he took over for. Does anybody, I guess, we have any engineers in the room? Any engineers? Any people in engineering at all? All right, so you guys probably have someone in engineering that you looked up to. Hey, I wouldn't mind being like that guy one day. When I think about what we're doing here this summer, Paul's not a bad person to say, I kind of want to do what he's doing. All right, so with all that being said, we're going to take a look at Paul's missionary journey. So I'm going to break you guys up into teams. We're going to shift up the landscape a little bit because I need 8 groups. So we're going to shift the landscape up a little bit. But before we do that, actually, let's go ahead and do that now before we get started. All right, so if everybody can, the first part, it is vital that you're not sitting with somebody with your team. With Orlando, that's probably going to be impossible. But it is vital that you're not sitting with anyone from your team. For the first part of this. So as we go through this whole passage of study, it's best that we mix it up as best we can. We're going to come back together later. All right? So maybe easy for you guys to just, if you're where you're sitting now, to just move your stuff to the side and, kind of go from there. So I need 8 groups. 8 groups. All right. And now one person from your table, if you guys can just go back there to where Justin's standing, if you guys can get my lovely assistant.
Hi, Justin.
If you guys can get one of those, what do you call it? Sheets of paper. There it is. And a marker. Sheets of paper and a marker. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We only have 7. I'll be fine. We're fine. We'll be okay. The world will not end, I don't think.
That'd be pretty sweet.
All right. You guys are group 1? You guys are group 2?
There's 11 of them. 11 kids.
Group 2? Group 2? You guys are group 2? Group 2? Hey, you guys are group 3? You guys are group 4? Oh. Hey, you guys are group 5? Okay. You guys are group 6?
Okay.
And you guys are group 7? Group 7. Group 7. All right. So, anybody ever seen The Truth Project? The Truth Project? All right, Dale Tackett says this thing at the beginning, like, let's begin this investigative journey. All right, this is what this is. This is an investigative search into what did they do and how can we better apply it. So everybody, you guys have a sheet of paper where you are. Don't use your piece of paper yet. I'm going to walk you through one of my quiet times. Look at that. You guys are pretty special. I'm going to walk you through one of my quiet times and where I went through Acts, and then I'm going to kind of give you a bit of a, it's just kind of a rundown of what I'm looking to get. It'll be on the screen on the next slide. These are the verses that are going to be up. So each team I told you guys your team numbers. I haven't told you your verses yet, which journey you're in charge of breaking down. So groups 1, 4, and 7, you guys have the pre-journey and journey 1. Groups 2 and 5, you guys have journey 2. And groups 3 and 6, you guys have journey 3. And those verses will stay up there as well. So one of you groups are going to get lucky. Trying to figure out which one. All right, Acts 13. All right, I'll give you guys my stuff. So Acts 13 is journey 1, and maybe you're not going to get lucky. Maybe this is like really terrible stuff. Let's read Acts 13 together. Actually, we maybe not read Acts 13 together. It's a pretty long chapter. Let's read Acts 14. There it is, Acts 14. All right, and it is about 27 verses. All right, so read it at your table. You guys read it amongst yourselves, split up the verses, and then we'll come back together, and I'll model what I'm looking for, and then we'll jump back. You will jump into it, and you guys each are going to be doing these on your own for your respective journeys. So, all right, let's read Acts 14 as a group at your table, and then we'll come back together in a minute. All right, where we at? We good? We good? All right, bringing it back. Actually, this was actually one of my favorite ones. I got quite a bit out of this. And as you can see, I literally just marked it just like this in my journal. So this is a good tool for you guys to use this summer if you feel like you get stuck or you feel like there's some obstacles in the way. It's always good to go back and do a bit of a case study of Acts, just like I'm doing, like we're doing right now with you guys. So, all right, going through what was Paul. This is what I wrote. I wrote down some cities. You can be as specific as just writing down the cities he went through. Also, there's sometimes that they mention in some of the different chapters, they talk about how he went into the city and he went straight into the synagogues. I think some of those things like that are worth mentioning in your entry. You know, that he knew where he was going. He went straight to where he was going. He had a focus area. So in this particular chapter, I don't believe it says that, but in 13, and I think going forward, it mentions that. So those are some key things to mention as well. Entry, what did you guys put for entry? What do you guys think for entry? You guys didn't write anything down yet, but what did you guys think for entry? What are his entry strategy? Or where did he go? It said he went to the synagogue in this one? He went about as usual. What? Who was in the synagogue? Why would he go there? But why would he go there though? Like, I think that's something to dig into as well. Anybody? No wrong answers here. Well, I mean there are, but just we're all.
Is it because he knew the Pharisees were there?
Okay, that could be.
It's a place where people come to learn and
Okay.
hear from wise teachers.
He was Jewish.
Right.
His oikos, his people.
His oikos, absolutely. He went to where his people was. All right. Any other entry? So we got he went to Iconium, Lystra, Derbe. Where else did he go? I left some out. He went to Antioch. Spell it. Pisi. Pisidia. I got the worst handwriting, so y'all just bear with me. Pisidia. Where else? I think I spelled it right. All right. Are we good with entry? Or was there something key that was said there that I think we need to mention? Because he faced persecution in Lystra, right? And then he went to Derbe. And then it says he did something else. He went right back, right? Like, does it say that in you guys' version? What does it say? Can you read it, Jonathan?
It says, but after the disciples had gathered around him, he got up and went back into the city. The next day he and Barnabas left the prison. Before that, I'm guessing you know.
Next verse. Next verse. Read the next verse.
21? 21. They preached the gospel in the city and won a large number of disciples. Then they returned to Lystra, Iconium, and Antioch.
Cool. Yeah, he was persecuted in Lystra, right? And he went back there. I remember a couple years ago, actually last year, we faced persecution at NC State in the student center. You know, they told us we couldn't share the gospel in the student center. And it was the toughest thing to think about. Okay, this is the student center. There's so many souls there. There are a bunch of people there. And they said, we can't go back there. I was nervous, to be honest with you. Paul, and all I had was some big guy. We wasn't even big. He was like, medium size. I could have took him. But he was like, this big. He's just like, hey, you can't go back. You can't come back here sharing. They threw rocks at Paul. Like, they literally could have killed him. And he went back. Yeah, they thought he was dead. So I think that kind of gives me a little bit of ease, right? What about you guys? Let's move to gospel. What's something you guys took out of his gospel presentation? So we're not just looking for specific like what did he say? That is good, but how he said it, or maybe an approach he had. One thing that stands out to me is I think it's an extreme testament that he faced persecution and he still continued to share. I think that shows something to, you can mumble, you can be scared and mumble your words and talk to somebody. God's going to use it. But I think that's extreme. I really appreciated that. That's something I wrote down. What do you guys think? What's going through your mind when you think about this? Sweet. I like that. Definitely, if I can go back to what Brandon said, not Brandon, Jonah, same difference. So, yeah. If I can go back to what you said, there's times we tailor what we say based on who we're talking to. Like if we meet a new believer, we meet someone new, they just never seen this before, we have the tendency to share the 3 circles with them. If they're, we go to the Dominican Republic, we might not share the 3 circles at all. We'll probably be sharing the bridge because they have a background, they have a spiritual background already, but they're just more focused on religion. There's a time where we're going to have to, bring it to their level. So here's a good point. How many of you guys can effectively speak or recite the preamble? Darn it, William. All right. And that's because you've practiced it quite a few times, right?
Yeah, do you want me to say it?
No, please don't. Please don't. No, I appreciate you being able to. If you practiced it on a regular basis, you would probably be able to effectively recite the 3 circles or the preamble or whatever, if you practice it on a regular basis. What's the best tool?
The tool you use.
Man, that's pretty good. When Burke does it, don't say anything. Nah, I'm joking. But seriously, though, the one you use, and if you're using it on a regular basis, if you're getting your reps up, then you're gonna speak effectively. You're gonna be effective in it. Paul was probably like mumbling over his words when you ask him what he wanted for dinner, but you talk to him about the gospel and he's Barack Obama, right? And I think he's a pretty good speaker. So I think that's about it. Right. So I think that's something we really need to be cognizant of. We need to think about that. How many of you guys are confident in sharing the gospel? Like you're absolutely confident in sharing the gospel. All right, so if you do it enough, you get in a process, you go through a 10-week link process where you're sharing on a regular basis each and every day. At the end of the summer, all hands will go up. I was like, oh man, this is easy stuff to me. This is easy. So I want us to remember that. That's a good point. I really like that one, Lee. William, thank you for knowing the preamble.
You're welcome.
Never mind. Talk about it later. All right. Later. We'll do that one later. Well, discipleship. What did you guys get from discipleship? Here's what I wrote down. Paul strengthened the souls of the disciples, encouraging them to continue in the faith. He exhorted the new believers to persevere in the faith. That's discipleship. We see that as discipleship, right? We can do that by, I think I was sharing at lunch, I was talking at lunch about the verse in Philemon 1:6 that it says, I pray for the sharing of your faith be effective in knowing the knowledge of all we have in Christ. We can exhort each other. We can do that. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to see discipleship as. Not just, us sitting down. Because it didn't say Paul strengthened his disciple, one, singular, me and Ben Adamick sat down and I said, hey, Ben, me and Ben do go out. Burke talked about it yesterday about discipleship isn't just us getting together over coffee and talking about our issues. But discipleship is, I want to talk every Wednesday. We get a chance, our small group, our home group, the Root Church, our guys get together every other Wednesday, and we go to Chick-fil-A. No better place to go. And we don't talk about anything ministry related. It's just a whole time about strengthening souls. What's going on? How are you really doing? And it's not just one-on-one, me meeting with Ben, me meeting with Austin, or, just one-on-one kind of deal. But it's us strengthening each other together because my knowledge of different things only goes but so far. I don't have it all figured out. But Jeff, you guys don't know Jeff. Jeff, he might have an answer to Ben's problem, or Ben might have an answer to Austin's problem. We're a team. We don't want to do this one-on-one thing. There are times that we do need to meet one-on-one. There are times we do need to work things out, and we got to be a little bit more private about it. But as much as possible, let's encourage this word. It's not really a word. It's called teamship. But as much as possible, let's encourage that. Let's encourage the working together of a team when it comes to discipleship. I think that is just the primary discipleship thing we want to pull away from this passage. What do we see for the fourth field? Gathering in church/church. I'm just going to write verse 27. And in somebody's translation, does it say they spent no little time together? I really don't like when they say that in the Bible. I was just like, why don't they just say they spent a lot of time together? But as a church, they spent a lot of time together. So when you come together this summer as home groups, or even your teams, your individual teams like Link Charlotte and Link DR, you guys are we're gonna spend a lot of time with each other. And it doesn't mean that you're excluding the other linkers by spending time with just this subset, but you're trying to come together and do something and report on what God is doing. And you're really, that's really one of the big purposes of us coming together. And I'm pretty sure the whole time they came together, they weren't serious business meeting style. It was probably some fun and some jokes and some laughter in there as well. But they spent no little time together. So gathering as a church, that's what I took away from this. The middle part, leadership, it's one of our core values, I believe. I think. Elders were appointed, and a plurality of elders is indicated. So they just didn't say we appointed a elder or a pastor. They said elders. So we want to lead together. That's pretty much what I got from Acts 14. Which group is that? Who's got Acts 14? Okay, Journey 1. Sweet. All right, so as we get ready to dive into it, does everybody know what they're responsible for? So read it, go through it, dive into it, and you guys are responsible for coming and presenting it before everyone afterwards, all right? So do well, all right? Isn't that cool? You're using the sheet of paper in front. So go to the next slide for me, please. All right, so the questions for the study. Where/whom did they go to? What did they say? How did they invest in new believers? What did these new believers gather as? And who led these new churches? The things at the bottom, those are some little quick notes to jot down and be thoughtful of. What was the role of the Holy Spirit? And for all of these, I want you to really dive into it. Be a little bit nitpicky about it. Like Bert was saying last night. The role of abiding/prayer. I know we haven't went over abiding, but I want to make sure we dive into that. We'll go over that tonight. But the role of prayer and abiding, whether they gathered and prayed, and the role of persecution. Obviously, I didn't do that in my study just because I wanted to. I have no idea why I didn't do. I should have done that. So yeah, we're gonna make sure we do this. So, is there any way we can keep this up and the verses? Or do you guys all have the verses you're responsible for? All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and put the verses up, and the questions, the stuff is already in your book. Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, sweet. Somebody was ahead of the game. All right, sweet. So you guys know what you got, what you're in charge of. I'm going to give you guys 30 to 40 minutes to do this.
Can you repeat what we're in charge of?
All right, hey, so group 1, 4, and 7 is pre-journey and journey 1. Groups 2 and 5, journey 2, and groups 3 and 6, journey 3.